Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
Welcome back. This is Yeukai here. I'm so excited to be with you here today because I'm joined on the show by Natalia Nicholson, an amazing entrepreneur who has a history of being in business, trying things out for nearly 20 years. Natalia, thank you so much for joining us on the show here today.
Thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Amazing. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a place where you know that entrepreneurship is your thing, but you found yourself going through the ups and downs to a point where you're questioning if it really is something you're called to do? Well, if you have questioned yourself or you're in a place where you're not so sure whether you are living a life of an entrepreneur, well, stay tuned because you're going to discover how Natalia has navigated that lifestyle today. Natalia, for those who haven't come across you or maybe discover some of the things that you do, tell us a little bit about yourself, specifically how you got started on this journey of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, sure. Entrepreneurship for me is something that lives within you. It's a part of your DNA. Some people are excellent singers, runners, footballers. You know, we're all given a gift, and some of us take longer to find that gift sometimes because it's not as obvious as it is for some people, but we are all given a gift. So entrepreneurialism for me is a gift. It's not something that you choose. It's a part of you. That's why many entrepreneurs often are trying to run 10 businesses at the same time. It's just within our blood. So for me, it was around about the age of being 14, having parents that were from the Windrush, the Caribbean, living in this country as a second generation, where you're not quite a part of the culture, the country that you live in, and you don't feel like a part of the country and culture that your parents come from when you go there as well. I read many, many stories that motivated me and inspired me. And it was a story of Harriet Tubman and just understanding the adversity that she went through, understanding what she was standing up for her rights, for millions of her people. And what she did is that really made me realize it's pioneers like this that have paved the way that I'm able to do whatever I want to do in the world. So those desires that lived in me very much came to the forefront, and that power came out. It was like, I'm going to do this. I was 14 and I understood that I'm going to look after my parents. I want to be remembered for something in this world, and I'm going to be successful. I just didn't know what I was going to be successful at that age.
Yes, yeah, love that. One of the things I like about your story is because a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we can identify with it, that we discover something. Maybe it was introduced to us at a very young age, and it created a desire to live life on our terms, which I hear from your story there. Now, tell us about some of the very few steps you took right at the beginning that sort of led you to where you are today.
I think the very first step that led me to where I am today is understanding that nobody has the right to tell me I cannot do something.
Right.
That desire has to be able to overtake that. So growing up in London in the 80s and being told by careers advisors, when you told them that you wanted to be a businesswoman, I think I told one of them I wanted to be the first Black Prime Minister, and then turning around laughing so hard there's tears coming down their eyes, or telling you that's never going to happen. That's when that made me realise I didn't like being laughed at. I didn't like being ridiculed, and that's what made me think I'm going to prove you wrong. So I think the first thing you have to have is a desire, and you have to have a skin where you don't take on board, a thick skin, what other people have to think and say. As you get older, you start to realize that you don't put yourself in environments where people's vibrations or thoughts will bring you down, so you can make sure you follow through. So I think that was my very, very first lesson in terms of understanding how to get ahead, and also just trying. We hear it so many times from our parents growing up, there's no such word as can't, but many times in life you feel like you're being pushed and you can't do something. I think that you have to be able to push past that, and that's another lesson that you're really going to have from the very get-go of really wanting to be an entrepreneur. If you're going to think that you can't do something, you know, faith can move mountains, and that's the starting point of your journey, is really being able to believe in yourself and understand that you can do what you want to do. So having belief in yourself.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Let's talk about the very first company you started, because you've gone on to start several companies, among which one of them was well over £1 million worth of business, and then you sold it. But let's talk about the very first business that you set up. What became of it?
So the first business I set up was actually a business called passionate.net. And I set this up in 2003. And it was my version of Amazon. I wanted to create an A to Z bookstore selling children books, history books, cookery books, anything within those subjects that related to Black culture. Growing up second generation, and growing up being a part of the transatlantic slave trade, where you're bought from another country, brought into different countries, you're separated and you don't have a true sense of belonging. You're in a schooling system where you think, where's my history? I don't understand, where do I come from? Every time I look my history up, all I can hear is about slavery. Where did I exist before slavery? Because the world was going before slavery. So where was I? That curiosity meant that I looked a lot of things up. I read a lot of things. I researched, and I just became more aware of who I was. I became more aware of the world and all the historical events that brought my people to where they are today. And I felt like I needed to pass that knowledge on to other people of color so they could understand their power within. Right. Because when you look at our history, you will start to understand a lot of thought went into suppressing one particular group of people. And that actually gave me power, and I wanted to spread that power. So I set Passionate up, which was an online bookstore. But I was young. I had a big ego. I was working in the corporate world after graduating. I thought I knew it all. And I was just hemorrhaging money and spending it like I was a big shot. And it was just my downfall. It wasn't my time. I wasn't ready.
Yes. Yeah. Tell us, because that business, ended up not being as successful as potentially could have been. Share with us what happened, and maybe we can derive some few lessons from it. And how did you close that in the end?
I'm really happy you asked me that question. I spent years really trying to nail down and think what made that business go wrong. And at first I wasn't ready. Again, the ego. The ego is something that all of us, it doesn't matter what gender you are, you have to get over. The ego will give you an excuse for everything. You have to overcome the ego in life. And once I overcame my ego and I looked at, okay, I had so much passion, energy. What was it that went wrong with that business? So there's a few things that went wrong with that business. Number one, I was running it like a corporate. I wasn't running it like a small business. Number two, I wasn't really thinking about my target audience. What do I mean by that? Well, I wanted to pass all this power on, but not all my target audience was ready for that. So people would hear the concept, it would sound great, but how much money realistically are they going to spend on books, and what type of books? The numbers. What are the profit margins? Being realistic. If you're going to set budgets and set targets, you need to be very realistic, and you also need to set them realistically. Nowadays, I will set my targets so low that when I over exceed them, I'm over the moon. So I had really unrealistic targets. Many entrepreneurs in their early days, and some even in their established days, will think things like, well, the marketplace has 6 million people in it. So if I can just get 1%, wow, I'm going to be like a multi-millionaire. It doesn't work like that. You cannot be everything to everyone. So I didn't understand about niching. I didn't understand about segmentation. I was bad at setting targets and realistic targets at that. And I would say the one overall thing that was my biggest failure of my first business, and it always kills me to say it, is the very thing that I went university for and what I specialize in now. It was marketing. I was hemorrhaging and spending money at marketing, just wishing on a star. There was no return on investment. There was no strategy there. The numbers weren't thought about strategically enough. If I'm spending on marketing, how am I going to get that back in? Any marketing campaign that goes out has to have return on investment. That's fair enough, you've got branding that doesn't always give you that, but it will give you awareness. But I just wasn't working strategically and smartly enough, and it was marketing that let me down. Spending money, just wishing on a star.
Yes. You touched on a very few key things there that I wish my audience would pay particular attention to. All of them are great, but for me, one of the things that resonate with me the most, because this affected me in the beginning, is not being very clear on your numbers, not knowing how things are working out. It's one thing to have this big idea and thinking that it's going to work, and it's another when that idea comes back to you in terms of the numbers that you're getting. So if you're getting started or maybe things are not going so well, go back, look at your numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers, they tell you exactly what is happening, what you need to change, and what you need to action up, and then use that as your indicator of your success or your failures. Now, one of the things, Natalia, I don't know about you, but one of the things that held me back from listening to the numbers was I thought I could change this. This is really bad. I can do this. And constantly the numbers were showing me that this is not a good idea, or the market is not yet ready. There is a whole lot of work that needs to be done before you can start getting the profit that you're looking for. Of course, sometimes the waiting part is okay, but was I prepared to wait that long before I get the benefits back? For me at the time, I was not prepared to wait for that long. So I love that part. And the idea of marketing, really and truly, nothing happens until marketing is done right. You may have a great product, great service, but if you don't know how to get that service in front of the right people, you might as well be believing the Easter Bunny and all that sort of things. But thank you for pointing that out. One of the things that often happens to people in their very first business is the roadblocks they face. Did you ever have to overcome roadblocks? Maybe your belief in the way things were happening? Anything around that time?
Yeah, two major roadblocks actually, and they're going to seem weird because they're actually not necessarily related to business per se. The first roadblock was myself.
Right.
Before, when I mentioned the ego, sometimes I bring it up and people don't really understand what I mean when I talk about the ego. The ego is that little voice you have. It's that voice that says, it's okay. I don't need to go to the gym today because I went yesterday and, it's raining outside. I don't feel like it. It's that voice that makes excuses for you. And those excuses and the ego is what can make you look at things from a very emotive point of view. Right. I couldn't agree with you more about numbers. You don't also have to know the numbers, but numbers actually tell a story.
That's right.
Numbers are there for you to use to be analytical. The facts are there for you to see it, and it paints a picture, and you can make that picture emotive. And I think one of the things that I had to understand about myself is you need to have clear goals. You need to be able to manifest, and you need to be able to have creative thinking. Creative thinking is what's really going to get you ahead. But the ego can make you feel like you're just going to, I'm going to visualize a parking space. Some people take the secret a little bit too literal and think that, okay, I'm just going to magic it up and manifest it. Everything plays its part. It's like a clog, and everything fits together, and at the right time it will happen for you. But in terms of business, I just had to get over myself first. I had to realize that I'm not bigger than my business or my dream. So for me, that related to my faith, believe it or not. So understanding that it's not down to me, it's down to a higher power. Makes sense? I know it might sound a bit, who knows it, feels it. I had to understand that for me to be able to achieve what I really want, I needed to remove myself out of the equation. It couldn't be centered around me. What I'm trying to do is bigger than me. When I realized that, I started looking at things a lot more differently, almost like a bird's eye view, a lot more open-minded, and I could really start implementing creative thinking. So I would say the first obstacle I had to get over was definitely myself. The second obstacle that I had to get over was just having the ability to listen more.
Awesome. Yeah,
listening is a really important skill. Your parents always used to say you got one mouth and two ears, and as children we either find it funny and not really understand it. But being able to listen, being able to be open-minded, being able to be a learner at all times, being able to look at things from different angles, to be able to make calculated decisions. See, numbers again. I think that was another one of my biggest obstacles to get over. And that's why I talk about the ego. Sometimes we make a lot of assumptions in life, and what are they actually based on? And you cannot base business on assumptions or emotion.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Absolutely. But, because of our time, the story doesn't end there. You had to reinvent yourself. You had to relearn certain things. Went on to start a cleaning business in London. Tell us about that.
So the training business happened by accident, actually, me being strategical about where I am and where I wanted to go. That's what sometimes happens when you let go and you don't let yourself get in the way. So after the first failed business, started a cleaning business, and that's what really propelled me. And what that learned me was about supply and demand. That taught me the grassroots of business. And I needed that lesson because as a marketeer, I was so focused on the marketing that was my downfall. I needed to understand the grassroots of business, and the cleaning business definitely taught me that. And the training and coaching I really got into my lifestyle after having children. But I wasn't happy because for an entrepreneur, it just runs in your blood. And I wanted my own business again. And I also realized that training and teaching others, especially in the corporate world that don't come from an entrepreneurial background, I was speaking French, they were speaking Japanese. And again, I wasn't really enjoying it, if you want me to be honest with you. And life is about when you get to do what you love and you get paid for it, it's the best thing in the whole wide world. And I wasn't there at that stage. So the training, I got into it to suit my lifestyle, but I feel like I was training the wrong audience. When I was in the corporate world, they weren't entrepreneurial. And when I was teaching and training entrepreneurs and small businesses, they were in it for a career choice rather than having that desire, that grit and tenacity, what an entrepreneur really has. Yeah. So that's what then led me back into starting my own business again, which was e-commerce, selling inspirational gifts.
Let's dive in to talk about the e-commerce, because you ended up going to China, created your own brand, stopped everything that you were doing, reinvented yourself. Let us know what happened.
Yeah, to my husband's dismay, by this time I think he was sick of me chopping and changing. But I just wanted to get back into being an entrepreneur. So I went to China, designed my whole range of candles. But this time was a little bit different. And I especially think with the guidance of my husband, this time it was like, what could I sell that has a sell by date that lasts forever, has got a good cost per unit that isn't too expensive. I can store it. And that's when I came up with candles. I suffer from OCD. I'm a very homely person. I love my home. So this was a great starting point. So my thinking now is a lot more strategic than what it had been in the past. And the product that I went for had to tick a certain amount of boxes that were very strategic decisions. Something that was low cost, something that didn't go off, something that I could store, something that I could dispatch. It was thought about very methodically. So having designed my own range, having figured out, operations, logistics, importing, taxes, storage, pick, pack, dispatching, fulfillment. There were so many elements of this business. I thought that, boom, I could just set up this website, set up my Amazon store, and I was just going to sell. I thought I was back in 2003. So after doing all of that, and then I saw that I wasn't getting any sales, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn how to sell online. I need to learn the ins and outs of social media. I need to learn how to get customers. I'd come too far and I was not failing again. So I had to learn how to sell online. I had to learn how to get customers online. And that's what brought me into digital marketing.
Amazing. What I like about your story, it really is a typical life of an entrepreneur. You get some wins, you also get some training along the time, because no failure, is really a failure unless you allow it to be. It just is a learning point of what works, what doesn't work, what agrees with you, where is the market going, what is happening now, what do people need. Those are things that failure teaches. But you have moved on from having an idea or knowing who you are. You're an entrepreneur, going straight into what you believe. It didn't actually work out, and went on to starting something else. You ended up building a massively successful business in cleaning, went on to start an e-commerce business. You reinvented yourself, did all these things. There were ups and down. Let me talk to you about how do you deal with those perhaps darker days of an entrepreneur when everything seems like it's not working?
Faith. You have to have faith. You have to have desire. One of the books I read every single January is Napoleon Hill, Think Rich, Grow Rich.
Right.
Every single year, and every single year I read it, I'll get something different out of it, even though I've read it now over 10 times. You have to have a desire. It's okay to have those dark days, and you will have them. I've had real dark days where it feels like someone's just got their hand on my head. I'm running because I want to get ahead, but that hand is just holding me back. And no matter how hard I run and the sweat's dripping down me, it just feels like I can't break through. There are times where I've had to say, God, I'm a good person, I don't deserve this. And again, the ego is just that you can consume yourself with self-pity sometimes. And it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to, be in that Olympic-sized pool of self-pity, but you have to snap out of it. And as an entrepreneur, desire and faith will always pull you out of it. God, whoever your God is, the universe, it will pull you out of it if you've got that desire. So it's okay to have those moments, because it's unrealistic to say that we don't have them. It's how you deal with them. I think for me, I'm someone that uses humor a lot. I'm naturally a very optimistic person, naturally. So I don't tend to stay in those places for very long. But I would have to say, for me, it's desire that pulls me through. It's that belief of something's not going to beat me. There'll be days where I'll have a really bad day, and the next day I'll literally be like, come on, we're going to do this. And, you've got that feeling of looking in the mirror, or you might go to the gym, or you go to an exercise class and you just swell it out and you get that fight. You have to have that spirit, that fight. And to be honest with you, I think, especially when you come from, a black culture, and especially if you really understand your history, I do feel like it's actually easier to pull yourself out of that, because in the scheme of things, when you think about, for me, let me not speak for anybody else, I just got to think about like where my parents came from, where my dad came from, how they lived, what he taught me, the adversity that he's been through. And I look at pioneers and people that have stood up and died for rights that I've got. I can do this. Absolutely.
I absolutely agree with you. Having strong desire and faith surely will pull you off any place that you may be. And I can tell you, in fact, if you're listening, you may be going through right now. And it's a reality, and it's okay. We go through that as entrepreneurs. There are darker days. There are exceptionally wonderful days. But here's what to do, during those difficult times, is to really believe, once again, that you too can have success like anybody else has ever success, and have faith in that this phase will pass. Tomorrow is coming. You're going to be able to deal with whatever situation that is in your way right now. You also be able to find your way out of it. So that's how I do it. That's how I do it. The other thing that I do, which you do, Natalia, is you run masterminds, or you are part of a mastermind, or a group of people that are on the journey, on the same journey as you are, and you encourage each other. Because alone, you can stay there in the dark moments of the journey, but when you're with others, they will challenge you. In fact, someone's success story can inspire you to say, if it is happening for him, it can happen for me. Or sometimes they share one strategy and it will resonate with you, and you think, okay, if I just change this one thing, I might just get success. So I want to encourage you, wherever you are in your journey, find a group to be part of. Some of these masterminds are free, some of them are paid. I prefer the paid ones because the level of commitment is higher, so that you have people to hold you accountable, people to challenge you, people to encourage you, people to inspire you. Some people say, you know what, I've got my employees. Look, employees are great. Oftentimes, they will tell you what you want to hear. You want somebody who's operating at the same level as you, who can challenge you and say, hey, don't be daft. What you're doing right now, it has been tried, it doesn't work, but they will encourage you to move forward. Let's, because of our time here, Natalia, for those who want to join your masterminds or just continue learning with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I run a community called Women in Digital Business, and I really want to just echo what you just said. Anybody, listening to this, I run a mastermind and I'm part of a mastermind. And even on the mastermind that I'm on, just being around people that are actually more successful than me and watching and seeing them do it, it's given me a lot of answers. It's given me a lot of perspective, and it's contributed to my success massively. I couldn't agree with you more. And adversity is just a part of your story. You can't learn without failing in adversity. Life just doesn't work like that. So with that, I created a community for women in digital business. Especially for those in underdeveloped countries. So Africa actually is the region of the world where women are starting the business at the fastest rates, that are actually the most successful. So our community is for South Africa, West Africa, East Africa, the UK, UAE, the Caribbean, but it's specifically for underrepresented women who have got that entrepreneurial spirit, and that desire is so strong because you haven't got a choice. You have to succeed. You have to succeed. And I think many of us from underrepresented backgrounds are like that when it comes to entrepreneurship. This isn't, I might succeed, it's a career choice. It has to. You're dependent on it. So the community, you can find me anywhere, Natalia Nicholson, Women at Digital Business, and we have 3 tiers. So we've got a membership site for those that haven't got a lot of income. It's literally like $50 a month. But within that, you will get every playbook, a detailed playbook as well. Not know on the surface, what are your goals? What's your brand story? These are playbooks that's all about mapping out your customer journey strategically, building out growth plans, how to set up Facebook ad accounts, pixels, Instagram stories, how to get hashtags, how to grow a following from 1 to 10,000. It's very, very strategic, because a lot of the communities that I was involved in didn't have any strategy, and I was just paying thousands of pounds for on the surface information. So I decided to change the narrative for membership sites. From there, I run masterclasses and training, and then we also run a mastermind where we literally teach you how to build out your own strategic digital growth plan, and we help you build out the automation. So I like to call it psychology meets technology, where you get to understand, what your customer value journey looks like from a psychological point of view. I teach you how to know your customer better than they know themselves, and how you build out an automated system using technology that will build you a funnel that will build leads, and those leads convert to sales.
It's awesome. Absolutely brilliant. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know how to do what Natalia has shared with you, and really get a coach, somebody who is going to guide you along the way on this journey of creating your ideal lifestyle, you want to reach out to Natalia Nicholson. There will be links below this audio so that you can just click on it and be taken to the website. As we round up here, Natalia, what is the one thing that you're doing right now that is working to grow your business that you think, if any of the ladies in our community, or even men as well, can apply today, they're going to see results? What's that one thing?
Understand who your audience is. That line that I said, I meant it with every fiber in my body. Know your target audience, and they know better than they know themselves. And there is kind of like a number 2 or a 1B to that as well. Not only do you need to understand your audience to a deep psychological level, because you need to be able to connect with them. You need to be able to, the same way we have laws of intimacy in life and how you might have met your wife or your husband, that's the type of level that you need to get to know your customer on. And you can't be all things to everyone. So, if you're starting your business, even if you're scaling your business, even if you've been in business for 20 years, understand with marketing what segment and who you're targeting. So you go for one niche and one segment. Once you've monetized that and you've hit your target, then go to the next one. Just because you're doing campaign after campaign doesn't mean to say that you're small time. That's smart. You cannot communicate to everyone intimately and personally. So you have to target people by segment, and you need to know them. And as simple as that might sound, that has changed my life massively.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Natalia Nicholson sharing with you what truly works today. And you've had the story. You may be be in one of those sections where you are having tremendous success, or you are down where things are not working. Look at what Natalia has done, learning from the previous experience. So we want to leave you with these words. apply yourself. To learn more, associate yourself with people like Natalia, join masterminds, or continue to listen to these audio recordings. It will encourage you on your journey. Look, we truly believe entrepreneurs really make the world go round. It is because of people like you and I that continuously bring solutions to the problems of the world that truly makes the world a better place. So we want to encourage you on a journey as an entrepreneur. Learn from those who are doing it and who are on that journey as well. With that said, I want to leave you with this word. Live well, live with passion, and know that the best is truly yet to come. Until next time, can't wait to catch up with you on Clubhouse, where we are going to be talking about how to start, to scale, or monetize your podcast if ever you're thinking of starting one. Thanks again for joining us, and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.